Hi, so today I'm going to just do a little quick video. I've been asked several times, I say that an awful lot, but I've been asked several times how to attach a piece of textile work to a canvas. So I thought I'd show you how to do that. I've got one here. So this is a textile landscape that I did a while ago, and I will do some more sort of advanced things at some point, but this was just like the starting point. This one's been attached on the back, not terribly expertly, and this is just a sample bit of work for me, so it's not the end of the world. If I was going to exhibit this, I would be going to tidy up these corners definitely. So it's not how I usually do it. I'm normally a lot neater than that. I did have someone ask me, oh, do you do it with do you stretch it across, do you sew it? And I don't, and there's a reason why I don't. So a lot of the materials I use are like this, organza. Sometimes they're silk, sometimes they're very, fraying fabrics. If I started stitching through to tension this across, we'd just distort it completely. So this is on a base of interfacing somewhere, and then it's several layers, and then I've just sort of stitched a little bit around just to hold it in place. And then it's actually glued, and I glue it because I figure that's the safest way of mounting the work, and you can't tell it's glued. It doesn't, there's no glue come through. And if someone wanted to take it off of this stretcher, they could do that by undoing the edge part and then taking out the old glue from the canvas and take it off all in one piece. So you could actually remount it if you wanted to at some point in the future, should they suddenly become massively valuable, or if there's damage done like that, if this got trodden on or something and it snapped and you needed to reframe it. So that might be a reason why you might do that. But the glue I use is quite interesting. It's actually Fabri-Tac. I used to use a universal glue, which was a solvent based one, and really don't like it. It smells terrible and it can corrode certain things. The reason why I used it was for paper mostly, and of course using a solvent based thing means that the paper doesn't go wobbly, but for this that's not really important. So this one is actually washable and acid free, and it bonds fabrics, lace, glass, leather, woods and trims. So this is actually what I would use if I was gluing some bits of fabric together. So this is the best sort of kinder glue that you can get on the sort of general market. I'm not a conservationist, and honestly, if I was doing a textile piece, I wouldn't do it like this as if it was old, but it's mine. So the canvas has actually been prepared. This has been painted because the piece of work that I am using is on a very light coloured background. We've got a few other bits and pieces. We've got a pair of sharp fabric scissors, a straight measuring edge, the glue which I've talked about, and a soft measuring tape. And then I've got just some scrap paper, and this is for when I need to spread the glue on to get a nice thin layer. So this is just a misprint off the printer. So what we need to do is work out the size of the canvas. So this one, the front face, is actually 24 inches. Now you'll see I'm holding that round the corner there. That's because the side is actually there and there's a curve on the front. So I know this is 24 inches square. So on the back, if I measure it, it will be just about 24 inches. Yeah, there's a little bit. What I need to do is find the middle point of both sides and top and bottom. It's 60, this one's 60.5 centimetres. So half of 60 is 30, half of a half is 2.5. So I've got a aquafine marker. It's water soluble. There's no heat going to be applied from now. And what this means is that if this transfers by some horrendous chance that it transfers onto the fabric face, I can remove it with water and it won't damage the work. So the 30 is that line there. God, this is a really hard measure to use. So I'm just going to go around and put a tiny little mark on each side. And if I meant to say I'm using this because if I used pencil, sometimes pencil will transfer. I mean, that's how we do Robin's using tracing paper, isn't it, is by using a graphite pencil, so there can be some sort of transfer sometimes. Right, so I've marked each of those points, and now with the straight edge I'm going to mark these in a bit more definitely. And if you've ever done any screen printing or mono printing, you know, like artist made prints, this is basically like doing registration points. So, because I'm going to need to match this up with the back of the work. So I've got my midpoints marked. There's the midpoint on that side, and there's one corresponding one on all of them. Because this is actually for a commission, the video will be up in a few weeks' time. The item has to go to the customer first, obviously, before I show a video. What I'm trying to do is continue this line round here. Because this is for a commission, I am extending the line all the way around so that I can see exactly where it goes, because I need to centre the piece of work perfectly on the canvas. You see that line goes round. I know the light's above, but there's a line that goes round. So that's all we've got to do on the canvas preparation, first of all. So that can just go to one side. I need to put the fabric part down without showing you the front. But it's all right. We're mostly going to be working on the back. The piece of work has been ironed. It's had its final pressing, so it's very, very flat, beautifully ironed, apart from this is just where there's interfacing and bonder web and all sorts of things. So there's just many layers, but on the front it's flat, which is what's important. As I also know that this measures 22 inches across here. That leaves an inch either side, which will just slightly go over. So what I'm going to do with this fabric marker is extend this point out here, and the same at the other end, and then take this one out by an inch. I'm going to have to make sure I can get both the points so that this is make sure it's level. Okay, so we've got our corresponding marks. The next thing we need to do is check which way up the canvas goes. So the stretcher bar usually goes horizontally rather than vertically, so that goes that way, so I need to have that to hand. And then I need to make sure I've got the design the right way around, because it does actually have a right way around. So the piece of work on here is actually upside down, so this is the bottom. Before I get any glue out or anything like that, I check the canvas on the work and I start to match up. So this is the line you saw me mark, and then I continued it down the side, and then you just watched me mark a line from the point outwards, and I knew that it was just over an inch, so I know that these are going to fit just right. So I need to just spread any extra between the 2 points, so that's right on that side, and then very carefully, without disturbing anything, I need to do the same at the other point. The easiest thing to do would be to draw all the way around when it's in the right place, so that then I can take it off, put the glue on, put it back on. Okay, I think I can keep going with this. I think I've created a bit of space, so what I'm going to do now is take a pin and just basically stick it through the canvas just to hold this in place, to stop it moving around. And then I'll go to the other side and line that one up as well, and then do the same on that. And the pin is going through the fabric, through the canvas, and just along the wood, so to do as little damage as possible. And then I'll do the same with the top and the bottom. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to whip it off camera and make sure that it's square, that it's in the right place, before I start drawing any lines on the inside. And the good news is I'm doing this as actually, I think it was where it was hanging off the table that it wasn't matching up. All the registration points are matched up fine, so that's really good. Right, so I've roughly pinned on each of the sides. So I'm going to have a look at this now and make sure the piece of work is centred. Oh, I did a good job. Excellent, that's really cool. The piece of work is central. There are some points to match up at the top and the bottom and side to side, and they all match up. So now what I'm going to do is take one side off at a time, and I'm going to draw a line all down this side. It doesn't have to be a thick line. This does show through slightly to the other side, but the brilliant thing is about this is I live in a damp, humid country. It's summer at the moment, so it's humid. So without even rinsing this away, it'll disappear in a couple of days' time. It'll just go but I'll probably take it out anyway. But if you didn't want to, you can use the weather to your advantage. So I've done that side, so now I do the corresponding side. I put the pin back in, and that's to hold it in the right place, to hold it in square to what I need, and I'll just make sure all the points are in the right place again. I wish I had another piece to show you. I thought I did. I think I could always put some interesting pictures in the thumbnail. I've got a couple of canvases here that I can show you that are done in the same way. Right, so I've marked them all, and I've done all the lines all the way down the sides. So now I can take the pins out and put the piece of work out of the way. And then the next thing we need to do is the canvas. So you need your bit of paper and a bit of spreader, and this bit requires quite a lot of speed. The glue dries out quite fast, so I probably won't have time to stop and show you. I'll just be getting on and doing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that my piece of work is the right way around for me literally to pick it up and put it on the table. And the other thing I want to do is make sure that the stretcher bar is horizontal for me to take off. So I've got it the right way around now. Because all these little things will make it easier for me to do. So this is a fresh thing of Fabri-Tac, so hopefully it will come out fairly quickly. So I'm just going to go in super fast and put a fairly thick sort of layer all over. This might look like a lot, but as soon as I start spreading it out, it's going to start drying. I'm just worried about the front at the moment. Right, and then with your spreader paper, spread over every thick line and go as quick as you can. Obviously, if you're doing a smaller canvas, this is a heck of a lot easier. I think I've got all the thick bits out. This is where that lovely line comes in handy. We can start matching everything up. You've got a few minutes to start making sure everything is in the right place, smoothing stuff out. If something's not in the right place, peel it off, put it in the right place, get it back on. And this is also where you can start stretching the work a little bit, just to make sure it's in the best place it can be. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off because I've got to do the front. So I managed to turn it over quick enough, you'll be pleased to know. I had to redo the corners a bit, so I worked all the way around, just peeling it back gently, re-gluing and spreading, and then smoothing each corner so the corners are perfect. Because I don't know if you saw the back, the motif is in the middle, so you really can't see what's going on behind that. But these corners are just as fabric, that's it. That's all you get to see. I wanted to make sure they were as flat and gorgeous as possible, and they now are. So, piece of work is on. Now we just need to make it tidy on the back. So there's several ways we could do this. I will probably do a combination of them. I'm not sure where my tacks are and my framing tack hammer thing is. I don't want to put staples in. What I might do is literally just fold. Obviously it won't be this big, I'll have to trim it down. Just fold it like that. That would be the way that you're supposed to do it, is just make it nice and neat on the end, but obviously I have to cut some off. But I will also use a little bit of glue along this side, and I will stop here and here on both the corners, because we will have to cut into the corners slightly just to make them fit. I don't like this method, the diagonal, because it's impossible to get it neat. The only reason why I did it on here is because there's so many layers, I couldn't actually fold them. So if you actually look at how a canvas is constructed, this is wrapped over, it's only that piece that's cut at an angle. So the first bit goes over, this is straight, so it's straight cut to there, and then you open it out and then you cut it straight that way, and then you take a piece off. I'll try and show you, but I do need to trim this down a little bit first. So I need to take about half of this off. I'm just going to have to freehand it. I did think of taking the whole thing back to the sewing machine and turning a little hem, but then I couldn't think how I'd make it square. Because, you know, even painters of canvases, this is all tidied up with a knife. It's not, you know, nobody's ever able to get the canvas true, the stretcher true, and then, you know, all just somehow miraculously works out. It's all tidied up afterwards. So what is that? It's about 1.5 inches. It's just to give me an idea. And I'm just trying to follow the grain line of the fabric mostly. And yeah, you guessed it. Got to work all the way around and do this. Okay, so now I've got a corner exposed. What we need to do is create as much space as possible. I want to work on this corner here. So literally by eye, first of all I'm going to take these loose bits of canvas off. So I'm putting the blade of the scissors right on the edge of the canvas there to make sure it's in a straight line. Now this bit can just be glued down. So we'll start, I can't work it all the way along. So I'm just going to try and make this pretty along here. With a tacking hammer it's much easier, you can just do it with the hammer. I'm just going to literally fold that across like that. That's where it is. That's where it's going to go. So I'm going to put some glue on here. I'm just going to double check where that ends so I don't get glue over the edge. And in fact, because this is a client's work, I'm going to put some little marks along here so I don't want the glue any further than that across there. So this is the last bit here. The rest of it's all been done now. So the way I would normally do it is glue all of this bit along here first, pull it all the way through, and then do the corners last of all. But the drying time seems pretty good today, so I think I'm just going to do it in 2 halves, to do the middle to one corner and then the middle to the other corner. I just wanted to show you how I do it. So use plenty of glue, but make sure it's not going over the edge. It just makes it look neater for some reason. I'm putting a tiny little bead of glue along that corner like I said before. And I've already kind of folded this edge, so I'll pull it in to the middle and realise I haven't got enough glue, so that's something. Just keep folding, pulling and sticking down until you get to the corner. Push that in and just tapping it. I'm not really doing anything technical, I'm just pushing it. And then when that corner's dry, so I'm just making sure the side's all stuck now. When this corner's dry, I can go back in with super sharp scissors and just trim off the excess. But because it's got that bead of glue there, it means that the corner's not going to fray, which is kind of important. So again, glue, and then just spread this out. It will soak through, you can see it soak through a little bit there, but it dries clear pretty much. But that's another reason why we don't want it on the side of the work. Okay, and then just fold and pull, fold and pull, and then the last one, fold and pull it and push that corner together. There we are. Just make sure it's all really nice and stuck down, and then leave it alone. Just leave it alone. The very last thing you can do once it's all dry, if you haven't got a tacking hammer, I'm picking glue off my fingers, or tacks or anything, if it's just going to be like this, you can use a piece of baking parchment and a moderate iron and just iron that edge just so it sits a bit flatter. But honestly, most people are pretty pleased that it looks this neat when you've done something like this. So it looks pretty neat compared to this. I mean, this is multiple layers of fabric, but you can see it's really hard to cut through, but I can tidy this up easily enough. I'll probably just, like, I don't know, put a band of paper around it or something, or bias binding or something, or even just trim it down and put a piece of fabric on the back. I'm not going to do that with this one because there's no fixings on it. That's up to the customer how they put it up. So that's one. So you can do it the diagonal, not very tidy method. You could do it in the diagonal but overlapping method. And then I've got, this one's in the thumbnail. Yeah, this is obviously how I used to do it, was the diagonal method. But this one's a bit neater from the front. And the beauty of the reason why I use canvases is because you can see texture off the side of the canvas. You know, if this was in a frame, you'd miss all of that. And I'm just looking to see how dusty this is, because I've been asked this before. This has been in my workroom for 3 years. I think I've got the dust off it once. But what you do is you literally just hit the back of it and give it a bit of a brush, which you can hear me doing, I can't show you. That's how you do it. And there really isn't, because I've had people say to me before, oh, don't they collect dust? Not really. And if you want to, you could put a bit of net with an elastic band around the end of the vacuum cleaner, you know, the hose attachment, and just any net, soft net if possible, and then just literally vacuum across the surface and it won't pull out any bits. That's what they do at the National Trust apparently. So thanks for joining me, and I hope I've answered your questions. I hope I've explained why I do things a certain way and the sort of ins and outs of different methods of approaching it. And I hope it's useful. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Bye.